Welcome to the Unlicensed Therapist Podcast. I'm Ali Rizvi. The U.S. election is in less than a week, and it's all come down to the 7 battleground states. That's Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, North Carolina, Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona. And currently the race is in a dead heat in the Rust Belt. That's Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and I was going to say Wissam instead of Wisconsin, but anyway, and Michigan. And the margins are so razor thin, as we know historically as well, that Kamala Harris is hoping to get every vote she possibly can. So a key demographic in Michigan is the Arab Americans. This is the largest population of Arab Americans actually resides in Michigan, right? In the Dearborn area, just outside of Detroit is where they're largely concentrated. So Michigan has the largest concentration of Arab Americans in North America, with around 500,000 people at least. So there's about 500,000 at least Arab Americans living in Michigan. In 2016, the margin of victory that Trump won by in Michigan was around 10,700 votes. So it's a lot less than 500,000. And Biden won in 2020 by around 150,000 votes, which is also a lot less than the 500,000. And to note, in 2016, Jill Stein got 51,000 votes, which is 5 times the margin by which Trump won. So this is clearly a very, very consequential election, and especially for this community. And my guest today is a key community activist here in Dearborn, Michigan, and he's calling from there. Wissam Charafeddine. I love this guy. He's a really good friend of mine. But we do have disagreements on many issues, so we're not going to be talking about like the war or even debating it or anything. But Wissam is a supporter of Jill Stein in this election. He's been advocating for her. So we're going to talk about his thinking around this and the views of the larger community and how they're thinking, because this election may actually just come down to this. So Wissam, first of all, your community there could very well decide this election, right, this year. So I'm guessing you're getting a lot of attention from media. I know you've been in touch with Jill Stein, regular contact with her, but which other sort of national leaders and politicians have tried to engage with the Arab American community there?
Oh, the whole nation. First of all, hello, Ali, and hello to your audience, and congratulations on your new podcast.
Thank you.
You are one of our intellectual heroes, really, in our community, the secular community and the cultural Muslim community. So thank you, and thank you for always shedding some objective and with a sense of scientific style on very important subjects. So Dearborn, as you said, it is really coming down to this city and similar cities, very few of them in the Midwest, that are making a difference and deciding these elections, which amplifies our voices. So for every vote in Dearborn that might equal certain number of votes in somewhere else, which gives us a little bit of a leverage of amplifying this voice. And to tell you the truth, right now, and since October of last year, the community is traumatized. The community is living in a trauma and a collective pain because of what we consider to be a genocide that's taken place in Gaza, and today the illegal attacks on Lebanon. So there is no one here in the community, especially the Arab American community, which there are many people here from Iraq, Yemen, Lebanon, Palestine, Syria, and then also Muslim Americans from various places from the Muslim world, but especially the Arab American community, which creates the vast majority of the Arab American, the Muslim American presence in Dearborn. There's no household that is free of pain. We have lost relatives, we have lost friends, we have lost grandparents, properties, heritage. My city, Tyre, which is considered in totality a World Heritage Site, one of the oldest in Lebanon, most continuously inhabited city in the world, has been bombed this week very heavily. And as one of my friends said, this is the feeling of someone bombing your heart. We feel now, how can someone bomb your heart? So we are, and there is a couple of professors from University of Louisiana who actually have a research that is recently published about the trauma, the psychological trauma of the Arab American community. So we are a traumatized community. And I am not a politician, but I could not stay silent as to what's going on. What's going on is basically our government, our country committing a genocide. America is committing a genocide, and Israel is just a proxy that is implementing the American policy. 70%, according to Brown's University, Watson Institute, 70% of the war that Israel is waging is funded directly by the United States. The bombs, the airplanes, the intelligence, and now boots on the ground, continuous support, the veto and the UN, the silence of the mainstream media and the government, the legitimization of all the crimes and war crimes and massacres that are taking place on a daily basis today. Over 120 people massacred in Gaza, over 50 in Lebanon. It's just a tremendous pressure that's put on the community. And we have done so much work to get this community to become engaged in politics. And now they are so much let down. They are so much feeling that this government in both its chambers, because the Democrats are committing the genocide and the Republicans are, they want to finish the job, quote unquote, from Trump. Trump, yeah. Actually, Trump blames Biden for, he even says that if Netanyahu would have listened to Biden in the ceasefire, it would have been a terrible thing. He is blaming the shallow, intended even request from Biden to slow down by Netanyahu. So both parties are part of this.
So I understand. So you're saying that when you say the U.S. is committing the genocide, you're talking about like the fact that they keep on supplying them with the weapons. They're not stopping that. They're not, and every time even if they sort of pay lip service to it, there's no action that supports it, especially on the Democrat side. So one sort of quick thing that I want to ask you about this is that do you see the Trump and the actually, before we get into the Trump and the Harris administration, did you see a difference? Is there a difference that's perceived between the way that Kamala Harris has come to this? I mean, where she comes from politically, she's usually been a lot more progressive. Biden has been obviously entrenched in the system. He has a very good relationship with Netanyahu for decades. And they do, obviously Kamala Harris is the vice president still, so she still has to talk about, take the position of the administration. But do you see a difference between how Biden is, what the community thinks of Biden and how Kamala Harris might be different?
When Kamala Harris came into inherited that position, we were awaiting what's her position is going to be. Her position was very blatantly pro-Israel. She supported every single decision that Biden made, and she will continue unequivocally supporting Israel in its operation to finish off what they have started, which we call genocide, they call fighting terror. There's an ideological difference there. The only terror we see right now is from Israel. And her continuous declaration of support of Israel, what's going on, $8.7 billion were sent last week. There isn't even the smallest support of conditional arms embargo on Israel. American administration has always acted to stop when severe crossing of red lines of human rights have been crossed. Eisenhower did it. Reagan did it with Menachem, and he told Menachem in 1982 when he was bombing Beirut, Menachem Begin, the president of Israel at that time, he told him, the prime minister of Israel, he told him, you are committing a Holocaust.
And, yeah. He said that,
and that is not even, yes, and that's not even half a day of bombing that Israel has done. Israel has done over 1,025 strikes on Lebanon since a month, only during a month. 2,000-pound bombs, 4,000-pound bombs supplied with gas, phosphorus bombs. These are things that are unprecedented. It has not been done in 1982, these types of bombs. So the American administration today is more criminal than any American administration we have ever seen when it comes to the war in the Middle East. And the red lines that have been crossed in this war, according to United Nations and Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International, and all human rights organizations, are unprecedented. This is the only daily televised genocide that has been taking place for 13 months till now. So we hope that she would change. She didn't. She's doing some lip service now, but it is not backed up. Bernie has a bill right now, and he only has 12 Congress people supporting him out of 535, which is to stop the $20 billion that they are going to supply Israel now with
so
bombs.
That's a question. Has Bernie Sanders, because I know that his position, the AOC's position, of these, and they are supporting. I mean, it's bizarre. Like Harris administration, you've got Dick Cheney and Bernie and AOC all on the same thing, because I think that they're really determined to get rid of Trump. But Bernie Sanders has made pleas to people who are progressive, who are concerned about the war in Gaza and the funding of and sending all of the weapons over to Israel. He's made a plea for them, talking about how there is a difference between the Harris and the Trump administration. So that's what I want to ask you, is that, do you think that we talked about Harris and Biden, do you think that there's a difference when it comes to this between the Harris and the Trump administration? Or
this is so easy. No, there isn't, not enough. She can stop this with a phone call, and
she can when she's vice president, right? So I mean, right now,
okay, you know that, it is really a shadow government right now, but the administration, and she's part of this administration, she can resign if they're doing something that's totally against her ethics, but they can stop this with a phone call. And that is the opinion of 71% of the American people who want the ceasefire right now. And they're not doing that, which is a total corruption of the government that is not responding to the majority of the American people's needs. Listen, we are, and in my opinion, we are in like the 1770s mood right now, where everyone is trying to figure out how can we maneuver being under this king. And nobody's thinking outside the box until Thomas Paine and Benjamin Franklin and other revolutionaries came to tell them, you know what? There is common sense, right? The name of the book. You can use your common sense, and a king is not necessary. So, you know what? We can use the common sense, and the duopoly is not necessary. And otherwise, the Arab American community is totally disfranchised, and they are not interested in voting. But if they can play a part in the American Green Revolution that has been going on for decades to break the duopoly and break this purple fascism, a combination of blue and red that is always in the pocket of AIPAC, the American-Israeli Political Action, and military industry, and Wall Street, then we can move forward with a new era of American politics and also American platform. To tell you the truth, I just read an article. America is rated 41 now. It has gone down from like 32 to 41 among developed nations. And they are thinking of America really is not qualifying anymore as a developed nation. It might have to be called developing nation now. They're 23 on the index of happiness, 27 in the corruption. I mean, they are getting really low, and homelessness, etc. And we are totally playing to the talking points of Republicans and Democrats.
I understand. So I just want to I wanted to like probe this a little bit more. So when you talk about the Republicans and Democrats, so there's two ways to kind of approach this, right? And the hardest decisions, and by the way, I'm just trying to get the way that you're thinking. I'm not going to try to convince you. I mean, clearly you have a position, you know that we disagree somewhat on this, but the way that you can make a point, right? Or you can make a change. and the hardest decisions are not really between good and bad, right and wrong, because I mean those are the easy decisions. The ones are when you have like a really bad choice, but you have a much worse choice. Now, and just as an example, there's many examples of this, but on the one side, you've had someone like Chuck Schumer, who's the most sort of powerful Jewish member of the U.S. government, right? He has said he's publicly called for regime change in Israel, right? And really voiced his just disgust at what's happening in Gaza. And then on the other side with Trump, and this is something that I think, and I think that what happened on October 7th was a result of what Jared Kushner did. So Trump's son-in-law, right, Jared Kushner, who is family friends with Netanyahu, you know, they stayed at each other's places when they were growing up and so on. So they did the Abraham Accords without involving the Palestinians, with no participation of the Palestinians. So you froze for a bit. Can you hear me still?
I can hear you, yes.
Oh. Okay, so they did this by excluding the Palestinians, and then, you know, just right when the Saudi and Israel deal was about to be finalized, that's when the October 7th attack happened, because of course the Palestinians were shut out of a huge development that was happening in the region that did not involve, that completely dismissed them as the people who were really the main victims of it and the least enfranchised out of all of them. So just that contrast, I'm giving it as an example that, you know, you have leaders on this side, you have leaders on that side. I understand what you're saying about neither of them is a good choice. They're both funding them. They're both, they have slightly different positions, but is there, if you want to, like in this kind of thing, you cannot make a change if you don't have power, right? So in that sense, when you vote for Jill Stein, who I don't have any specific opinion on her. I don't know her or anything, but we know that's not going to get you power. You'll make a point. You'll be able to make a statement, but how much would that statement help the people that you want to change things for in Gaza versus electing somebody who you can at least try to work with and get a voice with,
yes.
Right? I mean, yeah.
I understand your point, Ali. And to be 100%, and to be fair to you, not everyone thinks like me in the community. So there are people in the community that have endorsed Harris, and there are people in the community that have endorsed Trump. And it's a good percentage.
We saw that at the rally. They actually endorsed him right at the Michigan rally. Like they came out and did it. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it is kind of appraised by the media more than it should be, but. According to ADC survey, I would say about 28% is for Harris. And I would say similar, because the ADC survey was in July, but I would say also Trump is probably getting a similar percentage as Harris.
I think around 41, 42. Yeah, around 41, 42 for each, sort of.
No, not according to ADC. According to ADC, I got 47% for Jill Stein, and then 28% for Democrats, and I don't know what's going on. There's some trouble taking place here where Al Jazeera is doing interviews. But
is that somebody yelling in the back?
Yeah, we are here. The whole world is here, and everywhere has been converted into studios, and there's some things going on. Anyway,
okay.
So there is a part of the community that agrees with this logic. But for me and for a large percentage of Arab Americans, about 47% who are voting Jill Stein and about 19% who are not voting at all, we say what you're saying is perfect in 2020. And that's why 60-something% voted for Biden from the Arab American community, because they'll never match our values. But, at least you pick the lesser evil. But when you are in our situation, I want you to think of it like Germans during 1944, where Hitler was not killed and he's running for elections again. This is the situation we're in. We're not even in the mood of considering a genocider on the ballot. We are not even in the mood of the cries of the children of Gaza and the continuous obstinate decision of hurting and attacking us every day by this American administration is not leaving any space we can teach this administration a lesson is that our votes are not going to be maneuvered by politics of fear, and they are 100% connected to the value of protecting human life and respecting human life. And voting Jill Stein is basically a vote for Palestine for us. So it is the only way to make our voice heard, that as Gaza goes, we all go, like Dr. Stein says.
So, if you, but look, so Jill Stein, if she doesn't win, she doesn't get power. And there, so I know that one of your arguments is, one of the things that I was saying was like, from what I've seen in polls, if you vote for Jill Stein, you're taking a vote away from Harris, and there's a vote for Trump. But you've also seen other information that shows you otherwise, right? I think you'd talked about that in one of your videos. That it won't necessarily take you out.
Yes, I mean, it's not necessary. So what I said in the video is that it is not our problem who's losing and who's gaining votes, but that's not 100% accurate. Actually, I know a lot of people who would have voted for Trump if it wasn't for Stein. And also, according to Newsweek, Trump loses about 2% when Stein is on the ballot, while Harris barely moves less than 1%. So, and I wouldn't only rely on one survey, but this survey shows that contrary to the assumption. So I think both of them will lose. We don't know exactly how much, but we don't care as far as we are concerned. They're both, this duopoly has caused us so much harm. They both are an AIPAC parties. They're both, and the statistics shows it. I mean, every single vote and decision by the American administration is aligned to Israel, and it's not aligned to the American people.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you say the last part again? You got cut off for a second.
Can you repeat that?
Sorry, can you say the last sentence you said again? You got cut off for a second.
I said that I actually forgot what I said. What was
that's
fine.
That's fine. I have so I have one more question for you. Like, well, I have some. I could talk to you all day, but excuse me. Out of these, I'm right now, and again with the Democrats, right? That it's splintered in a way, that you have the sort of the left, the Bernie AOC, which they actually quite think a lot very similarly to you. You have all of these student protests happening, right? And they're being demonized everywhere, but we know that the majority of them are actually in support of the same cause of the Gazan people, right? And these are significant demographics that the Democratic Party right now needs. Okay, so I know what the politicians have to come and say, while they want to get elected. Obviously, they want to maximize the, spread the I guess the what do you call it? They want to basically get as many voters as they can. But once they're in power, considering that you do have this wing, this progressive, pro-Palestinian wing of the Democratic Party, who do you think is more persuadable? Right? I know you said the Jill Stein thing. It seems like it's more of a statement against the duopoly. But just looking at the duopoly, right? Just trying to look at it rationally, you have the Democrats where you have this progressive wing that you can sort of use to, in a way, influence them, because they are going to run again for re-election, right? They are going to come back. The country's still going to be split. They're still going to need, your community. It's not going to be over after the election. So they are going to have to deliver a little bit. And then the Trump people, who do you think is more? Don't you think there's a difference between how persuadable each side is, considering that there is a sort of a more sort of progressive wing on the Democratic side?
We are not sure anymore. I mean, the Democratic Party, we were hoping that they will be more persuadable, that we have aligned with them before, but they weren't. And you can simply look at, even AOC has flipped on us, and Rashida Tlaib is left alone, and the rest, so many other Congress people have been defeated by AIPAC money. And you can look at the 12 people who are signing the bill of Bernie Sanders to know as it's almost insignificant minority now in the Congress that has any opinion that is pro-Palestine or anti-genocide. So it is a shame, and they have. And by the way, Trump is doing more moves to gain Muslim votes than Harris. Harris, she just kicked out a Muslim from her campaign here in Royal Oak.
Yeah. That was
while
have
Trump visited Hamtramck, and it's really not something that I would love. I wouldn't love to see Trump succeeding in persuading some more Muslims than Harris. It's unfortunate. Some Muslims here, they have very short memory. They forget what he says very easily. You have to keep reminding them about it. But she is not really doing any of the right moves. She's just catering more towards the AIPAC agenda more than anything else. And she's willing to lose an election. And she will lose it because of that.
Yeah, I'll give you that she is very indecisive. I mean, this is even when she was sort of like running all of her other things. Like, that's one of the issues with her. She can't really decide. She can't really take a straight position. And to your point, I will tell you that, Trump is, the persuadable question that I asked, I will sort of be critical of what I said and say that Trump, you flatter him, you tell him the right things, give him some admiration and the right things. And the guy is persuadable. I mean, there's an argument to be made that he would possibly have more to gain from a good relationship with Saudi Arabia economically and otherwise than he would with a relationship with Israel. So, and the other thing is, like, he didn't talk to Netanyahu for several years because Netanyahu congratulated Biden for the election. So he has beef with Netanyahu as well. So it is. He
has 4 years term instead of 8. So he's also less damaging in that sense. But, I mean, if you look at, it's not really only about Palestine, but it's unfortunate that this trumps any other voice right now. But the whole platform of the Green Party, it's time for an American change. We are suffering economically, psychologically. There hasn't been a higher rate of depression among youth in America. The child poverty rate has doubled since last year. So it's time for change, and there's not a better time and more time aligned to our ethics than this time. Now, Ali, I'm very sorry. I'd like to join you again for sure, especially perhaps before the elections.
Oh, that's fine. We know that you had limited time. I'm really, really thankful, and I really appreciate your time. I know you have to go do another interview, so go ahead and do it. And I mean, this was excellent. I really appreciate it. Give us a really good understanding of how everybody's thinking there. So I really appreciate it. Thank you, man. And we'll talk soon anyway. You're gonna be back on. I'm gonna hound you, so it'll be great.
Thank you.
All right, Wissam Charafeddine, everybody. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Take care.